This was kind of a bait and switch. Not because of the director, but because I am very stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that I was going to be picking a movie about giving drugs to zoo animals, and we wound up watching Day of the Animals instead, which is a totally different film.
Yeah, that's very true. Instead, Day of
Yeah.
the Animals is about giving drugs.
But okay, so Day of the Animals, I was trying to find a not
Different
just the
movie,
zoo.
but not
Yeah.
just the zoo.
Yeah.
It's out of the zoo now. Welcome to
Welcome to
Rough
Rough Cuts.
Dogs, they're coming. They're coming your way. They'll be here soon.
Gonna be a rough trip. Are you big and bad enough to handle it?
Although the effect on living organisms is not yet known, people are being advised to remain indoors whenever possible, especially those in high altitude areas where the sun's rays would be naturally stronger.
Dog, I told you that sun seemed damn peculiar today.
Hi, I'm your host, Ilyon, and my wonderful co-host, the Boix.
Hello. We haven't recorded in Audacity.
Do we record in Audacity? We should probably record in Audacity. All right.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Recording in Audacity.
Do you want to start it off with the host again? We'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll edit it in. It's
No.
I can edit. Edits. I just chop out that part. We still have the intro. No, but like the intro was good.
Fine. It's probably fine. Unless the website crashes again.
I guess okay, sure.
That's what my point is.
Hi, welcome to. I mean, if we do that, then we have to do the whole intro again. What are we doing? I'll just ask you if we have to do that. We'll record it again for 20 seconds. It's fine.
Fine.
We're professionals. Please pay us. Our Patreon is Rough Cuts Podcast. We have a TikTok. We have a Twitter. Give us money. We do this is professional. It's done well. You know what's also professional? Already? This movie. This movie was very professional. It had actors doing things. It had an animal coordination attack person that was famous for doing stuff. What was his name again?
I don't remember something. Michael Cox, something like that. Something Cox, yeah.
Yeah. Mike Hawk. So Mike Hawk did all of the animal stunts in the movie, and those were good. I guess.
The animal trainer was fine. It's fine.
The animal training stuff was good.
The one thing I read about this film on Wikipedia when I was looking it up is that Leslie Nielsen was very impressed by the bear.
I would also have been impressed by that bear. It was a big bear.
Yeah, that was a big bear.
Why was he impressed by the bear?
Because it acted well and gave him a hug.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah. But the point
also,
is,
it's Monty Cox who did the
Monty
now.
I knew it was M. Cox something. I didn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, M. Cox.
M. Cox. Yeah. Come on. But okay, so Day of the Animals. I was trying to find a different movie called Wild Beasts, which was also from like 70s, 80s about animals going wild and attacking people.
Yes.
And I misremembered it as Day of the Animals.
Sure did.
Which is way different.
Which is very different. This movie is interesting, not because of the movie necessarily, but also a lot because of the director, William Girdler.
Mm-hmm.
Girdler? Girdler. It's Girdler.
I think it's Girdler, yeah.
Yeah, it's Girdler. I feel like I'm like gargling something when I say it. I'm like...
Girdler. Like you're speaking their true name?
Yes, god damn it. Well, I mean, maybe I'll summon him because apparently he's fucking missing.
Yeah, because William Girdler is a indie I don't know, who knows, an indie director in the 70s who made a bunch of B-movie schlock and knockoffs, including Grizzly, which won
Mhm.
like best independent film in 76 as a Jaws knockoff with a bear.
It won awards?
Yeah, it's
I've
a
heard a lot about
legitimate
Grizzly.
movie. Like
Okay.
a legitimate film. And then he spent all that
Mm.
money making more and more knockoffs to the point where he got sued for making a Jaws knockoff called, or at least purchasing the rights to a Jaws knockoff, one of the two, called White Shark, which got sued to hell. So then he just embezzled a shitload of money and disappeared, never to be seen again.
Well, okay. I'm reading something different because it says that
That's
he
what I
died
read.
I'm reading that he died in a helicopter crash in Manila
Are you sure?
in 78. Yep.
Did he jump out of a plane with a bunch of money and disappear?
He did not DB Cooper, although I would
Did he
love to see
DB Cooper?
Girdler versus DB Cooper would be
Now
interesting.
that's a film. It would have a bunch of
Are
hunky
you
guys
maybe
shirtless.
thinking of the producer? Edward L.
Maybe I looked up
Montoro?
the film. I looked
Disappearance.
up the film, so-
Yes. Girdler did not do White Shark.
Okay.
Edward L. Montoro, the writer and producer of this movie, is the one that tried to do Great White, is what it was called. It wasn't White Shark, it was called Great White.
Okay.
And he embezzled over $1 million from their bank accounts and vanished. Girdler, the director, he ended up dying in Manila, and he never stole any money.
Weird. I wonder. I clicked on. Man, I definitely chose one of the directors on one of the websites I went to find that information. So one of the websites must be wrong about the director then, and they put the
Yeah,
writer.
they're just wrong about who the director is, because it was produced
Fair
and
enough.
written by Edward L. Montoro, who disappeared. William Girdler died shortly after, just a year later, because it's 1978 is when he died.
Maybe
He
it's a
was
conspiracy.
Scouting locations for a project.
Uh-huh.
Well, it was
For-
6 years after that
Uh-huh,
Montoro disappeared, so that would be interesting.
Anyways, there's some interesting backstory to the film.
There's a lot of stuff going around this. Like, it feels like a lot of drama in the indie knockoff film scene of like the 70s and 80s around all
Yeah.
of these characters, like the director and the producer and stuff, because I mean, it's just them making knockoffs of other movies over and over, because this movie is also a knockoff, almost for sure, of...
Oh, yeah. It's definitely like a Birds knockoff. Or something similar. If
It
not
takes a
Birds.
lot of notes from something like The Birds,
Yeah.
where it's just animals going wild.
It's weird, though, because, like, it's billed as a horror film. I don't think this is a horror movie. But there's horror elements. That I also
Yes.
don't think it's a suspense movie or a thriller, which is what it's sort of billed as.
As
It's
different
there's no
times, yeah.
suspense. There's almost no thriller moments.
Yeah, the problem is that this movie is, and I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but this movie, more than most of the ones that we even mentioned this in, lacks focus. It doesn't know what it wants to be, because it's got horror stuff in it with them being attacked by all the animals, and that's kind of horror things. But then it also kind of does this, like, the suspense thing of, oh, who's betraying who kind of stuff, which, like The Thing or The Mist or all that, like all of them pushed to the edge and breaking down and fighting each other, which, I mean, those two themes can kind of go together. But then it also has like this big apocalypse thing happening in the background because the animals are going wild everywhere. But the movie is only focused on, what was it, like 8 people at the beginning? A dozen?
It's a
Something
large
like that. 8
group
to a
of
dozen.
people.
It's a fairly
Yeah.
large group, yeah.
It's at least a dozen. Yeah.
But like 8 or a dozen people kind of wandering around the woods. And I'm guessing that was because it's free to shoot in
Did
the
you know it's
woods,
free to
baby.
shoot in the woods? Yeah, you could save a lot of money.
But
Yeah.
like it's
Although
kind of
this had
focused
a,
on them, but
I mean, you could save a lot of money, but this was also a 1.2 million budget film in '77.
yeah, no, it
That's
had
a
a budget.
lot of money.
Yes, because it came off of the success of Grizzly, which did really,
Yeah.
really well for this guy. And so they decided they could just redo that again. I I mean, here's the thing. This movie starts out, it's so unbelievable that they undercut their entire movie right from the beginning. Because broad strokes of the movie, animals go wild and attack people while they're on a hike. And they all just
Yeah.
inexplicably start killing everybody. Except it's not inexplicably, because the title scroll of the movie explains why they're attacking and how, and just goes through the entire plot and undercuts any like ending that you could have where they make it back to civilization and it's like, oh no, the animals everywhere are crazy.
Yeah. It's a little bit less the beginning crawl and more the beginning news story that happens as they're watching.
That too.
Because the
Sure.
beginning crawl is sort of like a environmentalist, this is what's going to happen if you don't fix the ozone layer.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
But-
is they both,
but the
both of them
movie-
explain it.
Yeah, right after that, it's like, oh, by the way, the ozone's causing everybody to go crazy. Watch out, haha. And then everybody in town's like, oh, that's weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like 2 things in a
Yeah.
row. Like right away,
Yeah.
there's the scroll that says like we've been releasing CFCs into the atmosphere and it's building a hole in the ozone and who knows what the consequences are. Maybe it'll be like this. And then it goes to a news crawl that explains that all animals are going nuts because we have the ozone.
It's specifically
guess.
aerosol that's dissolving the ozone layer.
Yes, yeah, CFCs.
Yeah. And then it's like, by the way, this is totally exaggerated, but it could happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that underscores, like, that ruins so much of the movie right away, because
it does, yeah.
so much of the movie is all these people in the woods going like, why the hell are all the animals acting so weird? And it's like, well, I mean,
Yeah, I
you
know.
told us in the first
You
30
told me,
seconds
yeah.
of the movie. You just kind
Yeah.
of
The-
explained that, so I mean,
The other important thing is that this movie has a shitload of B-roll of animals, and it was all
Yes.
shot in Todd vision.
yeah. Todd vision was very important. for
Todd
this film.
vision. Yeah, at the beginning of the film when they're doing the opening scroll, it's like, by the way, this movie was filmed in Todd vision.
Yeah, which is
And then
it's
all-
Todd AO 35 film, but it's just
Yeah.
amazing to see filmed in
Todd vision. And then every single time you see B-roll of an animal, it's like zooming in and out on them, like, and that's Todd. That's Todd making that shot. That's Todd vision. I
That's
love Todd vision.
Todd has a lot of vision.
Oh man.
All right,
yeah.
so I suppose that we should talk about some of the things that happen in this movie in between the start and the finish.
What happens next? They walk.
So movie starts with a bunch of cops and a sheriff sitting around a table at a bar listening to a newscast about the ozone layer depleting, and they're like, ozone layer, that'll never happen to us.
Yeah,
I'm glad
hey,
nothing
you
will ever
remember how
happen
there
because
was
of
that
that.
hoax about them Martians coming down? So they're talking about like the day
Yeah,
of the
The ozone layer is
War
a
of the Worlds.
hoax, just like that radio thing I listened to back in the 40s. Remember that? I guess. And then we also cut to another group, which is the group of like 12 or so, that are a bunch of rich white people from Cali, Beverly
Yes.
Hills, probably.
Some of them say
Uh,
that explicitly later, yeah.
Yeah, getting on a helicopter to go hiking in the woods. They're going to get dropped off at the top of the mountain and have to work their way down for fun and profit.
That one, I right from the beginning, I was like, why? They're in the wilderness already. Like, they're in this big mountain town. And apparently that mountain town is at a high elevation because that will come up later.
Yep.
But they need a helicopter to fly out because they need to be remote. It's just one of those things where it feels like
Well,
the
when
movie
you
is
go
doing it
hiking,
for the movie.
you don't hike up to a location, right? That would be dumb. You take a helicopter to the end and then hike back. That's how it always works. That's what happens when I go hiking.
Yeah. They also
Yeah.
they're gone for a while because they have scheduled, later on we find out they have scheduled food drops and stuff that they're supposed to interact with. Like they're supposed to find
Yeah.
food crates that a helicopter drops off for them, which that's a hell of a hiking trip, let me tell you. If you're taking like a week to go down, that you need to get extra food. But of course, they didn't bring any
Yeah.
tents.
Yeah, it's implied they don't even bring tents or sleeping bags or survival gear.
Something like that. I mean, I don't know, because it's weird. Basically, what the reason why we're saying that is that in the first day they start walking and they find a camp that's been abandoned, with the fire still going, and like
And hot coffees. Yeah.
coffees and stuff like out and steaming, and so like it must have just happened. They all just left. I have no idea. I have no idea why. And they've got these big red tents there at this campsite. And then they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just camp here and take their stuff. And they just take all the stuff and camp
They
and eat
steal
all
their
their
campsite.
food. And then for the rest of the movie, every time they set up camp, they're in the same tents and stuff that they took from these people, I guess. So it's like, wait, did they not have their own tents? Like, why did they need to steal all the supplies from a
Yeah, and
different
it's like
group?
it's like 1 2-person camping tent for all 12 of them.
Yes, yeah, there's like one or two
Also,
tents and that's it. Yeah.
like they were so ill prepared for this
It
trip. It makes
feels
no
like it.
sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would make sense if they were just like hiking up the mountain on their own, but they paid a fucking guide to do it.
Yeah,
And
they have
rode a
two
helicopter.
guides. Yeah.
Right? Like what
I mean, they're going to get
happens?
dropped food. They're going to get food drops like
Yeah.
3 days in because they're going to run out of food and they need to go and get their extra food. So, yeah, this movie does not understand right from the get-go. It's just already running into all these problems of sure did.
Which is way different. They don't even understand hiking or
Very
camping.
different.
Yeah.
No, they made a movie about like high altitude ozone layer turning animals like nuts, and all of them camping up there, and they don't understand camping, altitude, ozone, animals.
Nothing.
Like
Yeah.
they don't understand any.
Nothing.
It's like, all right, what do we not know? Let's make a movie about all the things we don't know about.
They don't even understand the history of the Earth. We find out later. Because they're talking
No.
about how there were no animals 155 million years ago. Motherfucker, the Triassic period was 200 million years ago.
Yeah.
There were dinosaurs, you idiot.
Yeah,
What are
they
you
talk about how
talking
there's no animals anywhere. There were no animals. He does say that there were reptiles, so I guess they're saying there's dinosaurs, but also there were still mammals. It just
No, he said animals
yeah,
specifically.
I know.
That's not how that works. They don't even understand anything. Oh,
This movie
so
is very
frustrating.
goofy and frustrating because it just every scene you have to go like, wait, where did this come from now?
Have you been hiking in the mountains, by the way?
I used to do a lot of survival camping.
Okay, so when you go out hiking, a fun activity is to find a bunch of pine cones and rip them open, right?
Yes, so that you can eat the pine seeds.
You can eat the pine nuts inside, yeah.
Yeah.
But like as an activity for the group, just go to the top of a mountain and rip open some pine cones. That's what you would pay me to do if I was a guide?
Apparently.
Okay, good. All right, I'm writing down notes for my next. Why the fuck did they do that? That makes no sense either. Why are they going to the top of a mountain to open pine cones? They could do that at the bottom of the mountain.
I mean, you also you don't just get pine nuts by opening up already dried out pine cones that have already released all their seeds. Because it's like,
yeah, what?
It
makes no
the
sense.
whole. Again, this is a movie about people that don't understand any of the things they're going to make a movie about. So they fly them up there. You've got Leslie Nielsen as this ad executive.
Mhm.
You have a mom who absolutely hates her son, a single divorced Beverly Hills mom who hates her
Yep.
kid because he's such a bad kid because he. And then there's a couple that is fighting a lot.
Whenever possible,
Yep. There's
especially
the
those in
professor.
high altitude areas where the
He's
sun's
a
rays.
professor of science.
So there's the professor of professors. There's the
Yeah.
two guides, one white guy and one guy who's indigenous, and
There's the reporter woman.
there's a reporter woman, and then there's like another couple that they don't really explain, just like a young couple.
Yeah.
There's like the young hot couple, essentially.
Because there's Frank and his girlfriend.
I think it's just
Frank's the guy
girlfriend.
that eventually moves off on his own because of stuff.
Dog,
We'll explain that in a second.
I told you that son
that was
seemed
the couple
damn
that was fighting.
peculiar.
There were multiple couples.
Then
I
there's the
guess.
younger couple. There's the younger
Yeah,
couple.
yeah.
because-
This-
yeah.
The young couple.
And then the last one is there is a retired professional football
Yeah.
player who's got bonitis, and so he's on his final trip, I guess.
I guess.
So they
Sure.
all go up on the mountains together, and as this is happening, you kind of keep getting shots back of the sheriff in town, who seems like he's going to be a major character in this movie. And they talk about
Yeah.
Boyd's
Yeah,
kind of
seems
shrugging.
like,
for a second.
yeah.
It seems like I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Hey, listen, I'm not saying that it happens. I'm saying it seems like there's a setup that he is going to be in this movie for a long time,
Yeah.
and there's quite a few scenes with him at the beginning where they're talking about like, oh yeah, all the animal attacks are increasing, and oh no, there's more ozone newscasts and stuff. Like every 15 minutes for the first 45 minutes of this movie, you keep cutting back to the sheriff and him just kind of doing small town shit and hearing about ozone on the radio. And eventually, the last time we see the sheriff getting woken up, even because it's martial law. The animals have all lost it and they're killing everybody, and you need to get down to the station. So yeah, M. Cock.
M. Cox. Yeah. Come on.
Through the woods for a while. They find the camp that's abandoned. Eventually, the one lady, when they go to sleep, Mandy, who was part of the bickering couple,
Yeah,
gets
the
mauled
Frank
by
and Mandy
wolves.
couple, yeah.
Yeah, she
Yep.
gets mauled by wolves, and the guide tells him, because this is like the first or second day kind of thing, he goes, okay, you guys just go back to the ranger tower at the start of the hike. A helicopter will come for you, and there'll be first aid supplies there, whatever. You just stay there, hold tight, we'll get a helicopter for you, and she doesn't have to hike down the mountain because she's kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
and
wolf attack will do that to you.
Tells Frank to take her back that direction. And so the group splits up for reasons.
Yep. And as they're splitting up, the reporter goes, "Oh my god, I hope Mandy's okay." "Oh, I think she's just scared. She's just frightened."
Oh my
Nothing
god,
happened at all.
Oh, she's just a little spooked.
She'll get
Meanwhile,
over
Mandy is
it.
like dripping blood and they're in that same conversation when they're like, well, she's fine. She's just probably a little spooked. And then another person comes up and goes, she was so pretty. Do you think that she'll be scarred for life?
Oh
because
my
she's
god.
so mauled. Because these wolves ripped her face apart. So you're
And the reporter's still just like,
she's
"Oh,
fine."
she was just scared. I'm sure she's fine."
Oh, it's
You old
just a
silly Willy.
scratch.
You silly Willy.
So anyways, birds drag Mandy off a cliff.
Get that weak ass bird shit out of here!
Yeah, so okay, so the vultures and falcons and crows and all the other birds got together. They're like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?"
you want to pull an epic prank?
So they surround Mandy and then grab her feet and drag her off the cliff so that she dies by falling. They don't peck her to death.
No,
No, they throw her off a cliff.
It'd be way funnier to throw her off a cliff with her
and then
husband's boyfriend trying to pull her up.
yeah, and then Frank standing on top of the cliff afterwards does like a full Vader no at the
Yes.
sky. That's a good scene.
Damn birds.
Yo. Yo.
Well, that is happening. The other group is just continuing on their fun little hike while Leslie Nielsen becomes increasingly racist to the one guide and
The guide,
everyone
yeah.
else, and he just becomes a giant piece of shit throughout this movie. He's a total monster.
He gets worse as the film goes. Like
Yeah,
the whole
which,
time,
like,
yeah. It
he's the
escalates.
villain. He's the main
Yeah.
villain. If there's a villain of this movie, of this part of the movie, because there's a lot of different parts of this movie, he's the villain of one part of this many faceted film that we watched. Frank continues on, and he finds a river.
Yeah.
Should we just get into the
'cause
Frank
he's-
story? The Frank
story is
subplot?
weird because he gets super dehydrated, so he's just wandering around in the woods, and then he wanders into a river, and then because he's so dehydrated, he jumps into it face first, and proceeds to not drink any of it, but fake drink it while sloshing his face around in it.
To be fair, if they had made him actually drink river, that'd have been much worse, because you do
Yep.
not drink river like that. Bad idea.
And then as he's sloshing his face around, you hear something near him. We're like, oh my god, it's another animal in the woods. A woods animal. And he looks up, and there's just a small girl there, inexplicably, for no reason.
Yeah, there's a little girl sitting on the edge of the bank and at the top of this mountain that they had to helicopter to.
Yeah, it's creepy
He
as shit.
sees a little doll that floats past him and then looks up, and there's a little girl there because she dropped her doll in the water to alert him or something. I don't know. And then he's like, "Little girl, I'll help you." And then he just acquires little girl.
And now it's the story of Frank and this little girl while he forgets about his girlfriend / wife. Yeah.
His wife friend. So
yeah.
My question to you is, why couldn't they have just let the wife live then?
Why couldn't they let her live? I don't know. Because they needed a cool scene with a vulture pulling her off of a cliff.
I feel like it was just that girl, that lady had a much better agent than most of them, and they filmed like 2 days of filming, and they were like, "Whoa, we don't want to be involved in this. We're gonna just can we rewrite the script so that she's not in this film anymore?"
Like, just I want out of this. Well, what if we just have like some random girl show up in the woods and replace her? Yeah, all right.
So to be clear, this small child, throughout the rest of this film, we never, ever find anything out about what happened
Does she have
to
a
her,
name?
if she has a name,
yeah,
if she has parents, why she was there, was she attacked? Nothing.
She is basically an item you pick up in a video game.
Yes, yeah, she just goes in the inventory for this like point and click adventure game, and Frank's pulling her out and like, do you use little girl on Ranger Tower? Little girl in radio. Why don't we use little girl?
Jesus. It's so bad. There had to have been a rewrite or somewhere that they had to write Mandy out. Or maybe they just wanted that scene and they're like, now what? Like,
I have no idea why that was a thing. But the rest of the group continues and they start running out of food.
Yeah, they make it eventually, though, to a food drop location, but all the food's been eaten by animals.
Wow, weird. Imagine.
Which nobody would have seen.
Yeah. Weird. You just drop a bunch of food into the woods, and somehow animals will eat it. Pfft. Who knew?
Yeah.
They're eating it because they all are crazy from the chlorofluorocarbons, boys.
And after they get there, they decide to camp there for the night at the food drop. Yes. So that they can then make it down the mountain the next day. But that night, a bunch of cougars attack,
Mm-hmm. Well,
uh,
no, they're wolves.
which are labeled as wolves in the closed captioning,
No,
and they
I mean,
go.
like the movie says
It
they're
clearly
wolves.
said
So
wolves go bark
clearly, it's
bark.
wolves.
Wolves go
Wolf
bark bark.
barking. Yeah. Bark, bark.
Yeah.
Good wolves.
Yep.
Leslie
And
Nielsen, at the same time, his ad executive character has been like increasingly yelling about, oh, well, you don't know what you're doing. All of our food's gone. We need to
it's
just
getting
go
more
back to where
aggressive.
we should go, and
Yeah.
on and on and on. So there's kind of this rift forming in the group where there's like the Leslie Nielsen faction, and then there's the faction that's the guides, which, sure, it really makes no sense because Leslie Nielsen's just this giant asshole to absolutely everybody, and he's just some
Yeah.
ad executive that hired them as guides to lead him through the mountains because he's never been in the mountains, and he's like, well, I know the mountains better than anybody, and it's like, wait,
Do you though?
What?
Yep.
Why would you?
Eventually, the group splits because Leslie wants to go to a tower.
Yeah, he wants to go back to the Ranger Tower with
Go
everyone
back to the
else.
Ranger Tower, and the guide group's like, no, we need to get off the mountain.
Yeah,
need
they
to go
go, we
down,
need to
keep
go
going."
down to a lower elevation. And everybody goes, well, why? And he's like,
Because the
well,
ozone.
because the ozone and the animals are only going crazy at high elevations. To which you say, what the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about?
And especially because none of these characters have been privy to any of the broadcasts that would let them know that that's what's happening. So
No.
even though it doesn't make sense outside of the movie, but it also doesn't make sense inside of the movie. Like, even if you accept its absolutely asinine pretense that there's going to be animals losing their shit because they're at high altitudes because ozone,
Whatever.
why would he
Yeah.
know to go down to lower altitudes? They've just been up in the mountain the whole time.
Yeah. After the group splits,
Uh-huh.
it cuts back to the town.
Okay,
The sheriff's
you
being
take-
woken up. Sheriff's being woken up at night by his deputy, who says it's really going crazy down here with all this ozone business. You
Yeah,
gotta
his
wake up and
deputy,
get the fuck down here.
martial law.
Yeah, martial law, the character from the Tekken series.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, the military's here. It's martial law. The animals are killing everyone." And the sheriff's like, "It's fucking 1 a.m. Go back to bed. The fuck are you doing? I'm trying to sleep."
And he's like, all right,
So-
fine. I'll go down to the station.
Yeah,
But
right
first-
now, as quickly as possible. So anyway, I'm gonna go to the kitchen and make some ribs. I'm real hungry at 1 a.m. and I need some ribs. So he goes to his fridge and he pulls out a plate of ribs that he's gonna start cooking in the oven.
Yeah, we need you down to the station immediately. It's martial law. Hold on a minute.
How long
I
those
got
ribs
some
gonna take to
ribs.
cook, right? That's gonna be at least an hour baking.
I have no idea what the fuck they were doing with this.
And his ribs get attacked by a bunch of rats. And our sheriff friend, well, friend's a strong word, our sheriff
Yeah.
asshole, says something like, well, he doesn't say it, but he thinks it really hard. I'm still gonna eat those ribs. I don't care.
He
that rats
totally
are all
does,
over it.
yes. Yeah.
I don't give a shit that rats are all over it and pooping on it and peeing on it and biting all that. I want those ribs.
Because,
Those
yeah,
are
he
good
gets a
ribs.
knife to fight the rats off of the ribs so that he can
Yeah, because
save
he wants the ribs. He wants
He
the
wants
ribs.
the ribs so bad. Which, like,
So
I mean, if I had a plate in my kitchen covered with a dozen rats swarming it, my first option is not to grab a knife and attack them so that I can eat them good ribs. That's not my first instinct.
see,
there.
that's your mistake. You got to get those ribs.
I
Those are
know,
good
I
ribs.
should- I'm starting to realize I just need to go for them ribs.
Yep.
So he goes for them ribs.
Yeah, he goes after the rats with a steak knife,
You know,
and the rats start jumping on him and biting his face and everything. And he grabs one and stabs it, and then runs out. Note, by the way, there were like 12 rats.
yes.
He grabs one, kills it, goes to his back door, throws it out of his porch. He's like, "Fuck you, rat! I wanted those ribs." And as he's doing that, a dog's out there being like, "Sup, motherfucker? A cab, what up?"
God, this dog has been watching it. This dog is in every
he's been
scene with the
A-cabbing
sheriff,
him in
just like
every scene.
staring at him. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. So then he runs back in and like shuts the dog out, I think.
Yeah.
And he runs back up to his wife and he's like, "We gotta go. The animals are attacking everybody. I didn't listen to what I was explicitly told 2 minutes ago because I wanted ribs."
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So now we're getting like that this is an apocalypse kind of scenario because all the animals are anywhere over 5,000 feet have all started just forming into gangs and attacking people. And they even say it's like an army because the animals aren't like rabid. They're not attacking everything. They're
Yeah.
specifically ganging up and killing people
Only
in
humans.
groups.
Like, yeah, and the birds are like, Roger, Roger, there's a human down here 4 feet away and down the street to the left. And the dog's
yeah,
like,
it's
"Hey, you hear
implied
that?
the
Let's
birds
go
are
get
like
them." Yeah.
scouting for the rest of the animals
Like,
because the birds will like fly up, see the
they all
group,
talk to each
and
other.
then cougars will run in and grab
Yeah.
them, and you're like, what? Okay, so we've got the good ribs. The group's kind of splitting up, and they just kind of keep getting successive weird animal occurrences, right? Like there's the cougar attack,
Mhm.
and everybody lives in the cougar attack, don't they? Or somebody die? I don't even remember.
They do live. I'm a little confused. So cougars attack, birds attack, wolves attack. Fish don't attack?
Snakes
Because they couldn't
attack.
train. Because they couldn't train fish, I guess.
They couldn't show. Yeah, they couldn't. They didn't know how to show fish because later
Yeah.
on they're in water with fish, and the fish are fine. Apparently.
Apparently, the fish are fine. Yeah. But yeah, the group splits off. Leslie Nielsen's team goes to the tower. The guides go back down.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheriff is working with trying to evacuate people from the town. So these are like the 3 groups that we're kind of following right now,
Well,
I guess.
there's
And
a
the Frank
fourth
group.
There's also the Frank and the little girl, which
Yeah, and the Frank and little girl group for some reason.
sure.
Yep. And as the sheriff's going into the office finally after eating his plate of rat infested ribs, we hear like one cop organizing people is like, "All right, all of you got a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna go in
5,
order.
7,
1." And then he cuts
1.
back and goes to like 4 again, and then 3 again.
Don't interrupt me. I'm trying to can't hold up. I'm gonna pop off my shoes. There's a lot of people here. I gotta do the counting. All right.
This is
How
like
many-
this town's population's like 10,000. He's counting them individually, one at a time.
It's real good.
I know.
Yeah.
What?
There's a whole little city that he's trying to count out. And that's all that we see. We just see him doing
That's
that
it.
counting.
And then we don't see that group for a long time, right? Like,
well, spoiler alert, we never see them again.
yeah.
Except that there is one scene that later on, way later, at the very end of the film, when there's a dead body that falls out of a truck, spoiler, I go, wait, is that the sheriff? I think that was the sheriff. Is that the sheriff? But it also doesn't make any sense because that body falls out of a military truck from the driver's seat. So,
But he's the sheriff, so why was he in the military?
Why
truck?
was he in the like? What the?
Yeah, what?
Just no sense. Absolutely drops that plot entirely. Has no idea what to do with it, and realizes that it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, and also, honestly, probably doesn't fit in the budget because
No.
they're filming in the woods. They're not filming in town and doing like their big apocalypse stuff, even though that's all apparently happening. So yeah, that just drops and you never see him again, except when he's dead, maybe, because I think it was maybe the same person. It's like a split-second thing where this body falls out of the military truck. And other than that, that's the end of the sheriff's story and that part of the movie.
It just peters out. Done with that, I guess.
So the group that's going down, we kind of leave the group that's going down the mountain for a little while because they're
Yep.
out like fishing for food and different things and doing all that stuff. And they seem to be getting on just fine. You kind of have them having conversations about like, oh man, if only we were better stewards of the environment, because this movie is environmentalism,
If only,
you see.
if only we didn't shoot so much aerosol into the ozone layer. Explicitly stated. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, I just choked on my water.
No. Do you need some ozone?
I could use some ozone. But yeah, so they have this big
Yeah.
philosophical discussion about environmentalism that's
Yeah, because like the reporter even
It's
says, I
very on the
spend so much
nose.
time reporting on life instead of living it. And if
Oh,
only
Jesus.
I lived life instead of reporting on other people's lives, wouldn't the world be better?
I now feel like I'm reporting on myself and I'm giving a failing grade.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
shut the
something
fuck
like
up.
that. It's so
Shut the fuck
fucking
up. What are you talking
asinine.
about? What are you talking about?
Add to the list
Meanwhile,
of things they don't know about.
yeah,
Reporters. like,
that's also the same scene where the professor's like, there were no living animals ever in the entirety of the world 155 million years ago. He's like, no, there's a fucking record. There's a fucking record. But the other group cuts back to Leslie, and Leslie's shirtless walking around in the woods now, turning into a mountain man and just going loopy.
Leslie
Going loopy.
Nielsen goes from being a racist asshole to like full apocalypse now in about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
he's
like, I got my own group. Time to start taking over.
Hey, come on, I think Mr. Jensen makes sense.
5 minutes later.
Jensen! I'll kill you!
Leslie Nielsen has been ingesting Ayn Rand this whole time. And when I'm saying that, I mean he's not reading it. He's just been literally eating the books because he's just losing it.
Because, like, he's walking around and then he starts giving some speech, but like, yeah, you know, me being an ad exec was one thing, but now that I am a mountain man who owns the world and gonna get us off this mountain alive, I get whatever I want, and I get what I want by taking what I want, and I'm gonna take everything, including that woman over there, because I'm a man, and blah blah blah. And then her boyfriend, because it's the young couple that went with them, her boyfriend's like, Leslie Nielsen, shirtless Leslie Nielsen, I'll kill you. I'll fucking kill you. And then Leslie just stabs him with a spear, I guess, and murders him in cold blood very easily, quickly, with his spear.
He's got, it's just a walking stick. He just has a branch, and he just charges the guy and runs him through, and he dies unceremoniously very quickly. To which Leslie Nielsen then, because it's pouring rain now, and there's thunder cracking and stuff, Leslie Nielsen looks at the sky shirtless as rain falls on him, and he goes, "I'm a man!"
I'm a man.
This big yell at the world.
And he's like, "Screw
I'm
your
murdered.
God. I don't need a god. The only god I need is AdSense." What? What are you talking about, Leslie Nielsen? But during that thunderstorm is like lightning striking everywhere. He goes after that same woman again, which is gross. But
it sucks.
Smokey the bear comes out of the woods with a shovel.
Yeah, Smokey brings a shovel to this fight because we know what's gonna happen.
and he's our hero because they didn't put out that fire that they left 2 days ago at the campsite.
Were you responsible for the fire? Leslie Nielsen just runs at the bear like shirtless and hairy to just
and starts wrestling
the bear up, and he just
starts wrestling it and loses, obviously.
What? No, against the bear.
It is a really funny scene seeing Leslie Nielsen wrestle a bear. That's probably the highlight of the film.
Yeah, if there is one, that's up there.
It's such a bad context as to what was happening to lead up to that scene, which kind of sours it. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, yeah, more than a
But
little.
but at least Smokey the Bear got him. And
At
I'm
least
okay with
Smokey the
that.
Bear just mauls the shit out of Leslie
Look,
Nielsen.
Smokey carries that shovel for a reason. It's to bury him.
Yes, no, yeah, exactly. Never let it distract you that Smokey the Bear brought a fucking shovel to the fight with Leslie Nielsen because he knew what was gonna happen. It's
God.
just gonna dig him his grave. So then
Uh,
Leslie's dead, and the rest of that group eventually gets to. I'm just gonna finish off
yeah,
that.
they,
The
they get to
plot. Let's just
a downed helicopter on their way
like
back to the ranger station.
none of these groups ever meet up again.
No, they don't.
Like any of the group, anytime that anybody splits off from the group or they go to a different location, like the sheriff, none of those people will ever interact again with each other. So we might as well just view them as distinct little movies because that's
They
all that
are,
it
yeah.
is.
They are.
And that group goes up to the mountain. They find a downed helicopter because this was amazing. You went, why? And I went, Borks, there's an environmental bird in the rotors. there's environmental storytelling, baby. There's a bird
because
in the
a bird
rotor.
took it down.
A
Yeah,
bird
I guess.
went in the rotors and attacked the helicopter to down it, I guess. And then they just all run
Yeah.
into the helicopter because a bunch of wolves are there to maybe chase them, and they lock the doors, and it shows all the wolves attacking the sides of the helicopter, and that's where we leave that group until we get the final reveal.
And until the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Frank makes it down to the town.
Yes,
With
let's
the little
resolve
girl.
the Frank story a little
And
bit.
Frank is just wandering around, bashing on doors, making as much noise as possible while the same dog that said ACAB earlier is following him around.
Yeah.
And then they get into a car which has its keys in it still, but it won't start. So he tells the little girl to stay in the car. He's going to grab a hammer and try to take out this dog so he can get to his car, which is right next door. It's like literally 3 cars down in the same parking lot.
And he didn't go to that one first.
Inexplicably, for no reason. So he does that. He menacingly holds the hammer up to the dog so the dog doesn't attack. Opens up the door to his car, gets in, and it's full of snakes. That's right. If the ozone layer goes, the snakes will infest your car.
It could happen to you.
It could happen to you.
So the snakes bite him, and then the dog attacks him while he's distracted, and it shows the little girl being like, "Ooh," the tear coming down her eyes.
And that is where she stays, in that car, for the rest of the film.
Yeah, till the very end of the film.
I don't even. Right,
where we
whatever.
get a little bit of resolution, I guess, to that plot line.
Yeah, and,
all right,
and then
so we've resolved the Frank
group.
plot line. We've resolved the other group. We're back to the main group with the 2 guides.
Yep. They also make it to town in a different way, at a different location in town.
Yeah, well, they find a campground, like it's like a bunch of cabins, right?
Oh, I thought it was the same town, but it could be.
No, I think that was just cabins. That was just cabins.
Okay.
So they find a bunch of cabins in the woods because there's a lot of cabins, but it definitely looks like a campground cabin kind of thing. And when they get there, they go into this big like shelter area. If you've ever been to a campground, like they kind of have like the big communal kitchen kind of thing where there's like a fire pit and a stove and all that stuff. And they're in there and they're looking around and it's like, oh, it looks like this is abandoned too. And they walk out and a dog drops a surprise dog house.
Yeah, a dog house.
Like from the roof onto them because there's a bunch of German shepherds that are in the cabins. Because
they rented it out for an Airbnb that week, yeah. Yeah, no, they rented it out. It was expensive.
And then all these
don't
humans
want other
came
people
in and started attacking them. Like, come on, you can't just go into ours.
Yep.
So they run to a cabin and board themselves up.
It's such a fucking... What a move to drop a doghouse on them. Like, hey, fuck you, humans. Yeah, I dragged this to the top of the roof so I could insult you before we attack.
God, weird thing.
Yeah, but they run into a cabin though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cabin scene is very much a Night of the Living Dead scene with like dogs,
Yes.
pushing their muzzles into the wall and trying to break down the doors and windows. Fake dog paws.
I was gonna say, this is when we get my highlight of the movie. It's only a brief, like, 1 second scene, but you see an extremely fake dog paw reach through a knot in the wood to, like, grab at one of them, which is
Yeah.
like, what's the dog gonna? It's a dog paw. What's the dog gonna do? Shake your hand? Like, what the fuck is? What's scary about that? It's so good.
And then suddenly it goes quiet, and the
Mhm.
reporter's like, "Oh, those were just dogs, though. But they're dogs. Just
Just
dogs.
dogs. It's just
Dogs.
dogs. In one of the best delivered lines of this movie. It's just dogs.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And then the German shepherds jump through the window.
Yeah, when they let their guard down, it was just a ruse, you see.
It was all a ruse. And they attack them. They end up killing the professor and the football guy, who has done literally nothing this entire movie. I don't even know why he was
He
here.
had bonitis.
He had bonitis. That was all he had. That was the one thing. He didn't even get to throw his last football game.
No.
He was a day away from retirement. But the guides and the reporter woman break off. They escape.
Mhm.
They run to a river, and they're like, "Get in the water! Get in the water!" The dogs can't swim because they're dogs.
And we've never seen a dog, so we don't know that dogs, in fact, actually definitely swim.
Yep. But the reporter's like, "I also can't swim." Fuck.
Shit.
There's a dock here. Let's break the dock off with a hatchet that we could be using for self-defense and make a boat.
Yeah. So they
What?
knock the
What?
dock off of the river here, and they jump in the water, and they hold on to the dock as it floats down the rapids. But two dogs jump on top of the thing? Like,
Yeah.
they jump on the dock, and the rest of them are just holding on to the sides, because they kind of, like, fell off when the dogs attacked them again.
Mhm.
And we see the dogs just sitting there happily, like, wagging their tails as they
Yeah,
float
they're
down the
really
river as the
happy.
final
They're
shot.
like, "Oh, are we on a boat? Are we on a boat?
They're
Are
so
we on a
excited
boat?"
as all these people are, like, hanging onto the sides of it, and these two dogs are just like, yeah, we get to go on a ride. They're just having a blast.
This rules. Yeah.
And they don't explain how they attacked these dogs or did anything with them, how they survived, because
No.
now we get to the big reveal, the end of the movie, where it is revealed that it kind of cuts back to the helicopter where they had locked themselves in. So we're back to the Leslie Nielsen group, minus Leslie Nielsen. And they hear a thunk, and all the animals die.
Instantly.
Boom. Just every animal above 1,500 meters, 5,000 feet. I did some looking up because I have some things to mention.
Yeah.
Every animal above 5,000 feet instantly fucking dies, and there's just all these corpses laying around, and they're like, oh, well, I guess we're fine then, because humans aren't animals, so we're totally safe. And they
Correct.
just walk out, and they're okay. And then it cuts to the little girl in the truck, and all of these guys walking around in suits that are like, so like they're the reflective material suits with gas
They're like
masks.
70s hazmat suits, basically.
Kind of, yeah. And
Yeah.
they have radiation symbols on the arms, which is really funny, because it's like, wait, but this isn't radiation. I thought
It's
it
not
was an ozone
radiation.
problem.
Yeah.
And then, even better than that, they start talking and revealing what happened, which is that they're talking about how, oh, well, these no-go zones should be safe now, you see. They'll all be normal in 24 hours. All the animals are dying, even though the humans are immune, which they don't explain, because they don't get the virus.
The virus. It was a virus, you see, from the ozone layer. It got mutated by the ozone layer. The virus.
Which is why we have to wear these radiation suits, you see, because the ozone layer and the virus made the radiation suit. So they implied rescued the little girl. Oh, they go to the little girl and they go, "Oh, she's fine. I don't know. She's maybe in shock. I don't think she is though. She seems like she's probably fine.
Yeah, and then they also
Which-
say, after
oh,
saying all the humans are immune, they then explicitly say some of the humans are
Yes,
immune.
the next
So
sentence is
they literally throw away what they literally just told us.
yes
For something else.
2 seconds later.
I don't even know what they're doing. If I wrote this movie, I would have embezzled a bunch of money and left. Disappeared forever.
Yeah, fair. Then the last scene is them just through the 3 final survivors that were on the dock, the makeshift boat, laying on top of the dock with no dogs anywhere.
Yeah.
And they look up as they go under a bridge, and there's all a bunch of guys in the hazmat suits. So I guess they're fine.
I know exactly why this scene happened, by the way, with all the hazmat suits and stuff.
Sure.
I know. I don't have to look this up. I just know. It's because the Andromeda strain was popular.
Yes, it very much
This
feels
is
like that,
literally the Andromeda strain.
I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, that feels very much like the Andromeda strain had to come out before this, right? Yeah, 1971. Okay, I double checked
for
that
sure.
I'm like just
for sure.
just to triple check. But yeah, no, the director and the producer were well known for making knockoff derivative garbage, and this is bunch of knockoff derivative garbage.
It's Night of the Living Dead, it's The Birds, it's Andromeda Strain. It's at least those 3 movies, maybe more.
It makes
they're ripping off.
Yeah,
so.
It makes sense why it's so disjointed, because it really feels like a mishmash of scenes that they liked from movies that were good and they thought might sell their movie, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Sure. This movie has like some high moments and a hell of a lot of lows.
There's not a lot of highs. There's not a lot. So I'm gonna be honest. There are very few highs. The one of the things that I wanted to mention is like, so all animals above 5,000 feet of elevation all instantly die, and everybody goes, "Oh, okay, it's fine." And they also say, God, right in the little broadcast where they're like, "Oh, the virus is going away because the ozone hole is going away."
The ozone hole fixed itself in the last 24 hours.
Yep.
Sure.
But also, if all animals above 5,000 feet died, and they're like, "Oh, this is just a small localized thing. There's only a few places that are high elevation that really got hit hard. Good thing that we didn't have any major problems from this." I looked it up. 500 million people live above 5,000 feet of elevation.
Hey, did you know that Denver is located at 5,200 feet?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Just gonna throw that out there.
Did you know that the Mexican plateau, which contains most of Mexico, is about 5,000 feet?
Also, I don't think they understand viruses. If the ozone layer closed, that wouldn't change the mutation on the virus. It would keep mutating.
We don't need... If we talk about all the things they don't understand in this one, we're going to be here a while.
The only thing I know they understand is Smokey the Bear.
Look, they'd got Smokey. Yeah. Smokey,
and that
they
dogs
understand.
hate cops. Those are the 2 things.
They nailed that.
Yeah.
So that's Day of the Animals.
I guess. Sure. Whatever. I chose this movie on accident.
You sure did. I might need to pick the next movie.
You might need to pick the next one. I think I'm losing it.
I think your touch is slipping here a little bit. I've had a couple of bait and switches in the last little while. This one though was you bait and switching me because I thought we were gonna have a cool PCP Zoo movie, and we got this pile of shit.
We'll have to do that movie later. That movie
Yeah, I'm
still sounds
excited for that.
good, but oh man. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. I guess we should rate the dogs before we
Yeah,
go.
of course.
There were multiple doggos.
There was a lot of dogs in this
There-
film, actually.
There's what is it? It's like Mutt Dog that hates
Yep.
cops, that is constantly looking at the sheriff like "fuck you." That dog is cool as shit. Love that dog.
That dog's rad as hell. It protects that little girl from that awful guy who
Named Frank, yeah.
who stole her from the woods, away from her parents without asking her anything. By the way, little girl has 0 lines. No, she has 1. She yells no a couple times, right?
No, yeah.
But she has like 2 lines in the movie. It's incredible. She just never talks. But he saves her from Frank because she's managed to get rescued, and Frank screams at her for no reason in one scene.
It's almost like his girlfriend died by being thrown off a cliff by vultures, and then he wandered in the woods dehydrated for days.
Maybe this is Frank's story for how he got rid of his wife. No, the birds threw her off a cliff, I swear. Totally.
Yeah, he sucks. There's the German Shepherds that throw the doghouse at them. They're pretty cool.
They're a counter-revolutionary group. They're rising up against the humans. Take back your houses.
They're well organized. They said, "Screw your housing."
We're gonna make our own housing.
Yeah, they're ready to take down landlords. I like them, and I would like them to join me in this revolution. So I would give them a 12 out of 10. They're good dogs.
Yeah. They got a wonderful ride down the river. Beautiful dogs.
Yeah, beautiful dogs. And then there's the wolves, I guess, that attack.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different wolves and there's some other
wolves.
dogs and some other scenes in the town, I think. Like,
they don't
we
really
kind of
do
see them in the
anything, though.
background. No,
Yeah,
it's just some background dogs.
Yep. Background dogs get a background dog out of 10. That's a good dog on screen. Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm done with this thing. That's for sure.
Thanks for listening again, everybody. Thanks for checking us out, following us on Twitter at Rough Cuts Cast, on TikTok at Rough Cuts Cast, because we have a TikTok now, which y'all should follow. We're hip and cool.
Which you already spliced a... God, I had no idea that you did that. You spliced a different trailer over the Unleashed trailer, and the timing of it is incredible. It's really good. I appreciated that one. I had no idea that you'd made that thing.
You can also email us at roughcutscast@gmail.com.
Any suggestions for movies or questions, anything like that?
And we have a Patreon. It helps support purchases and everything that we do to help run this show. So
yeah, and we had a couple of new patrons in June, so we really appreciate that. We do actually have significant costs in a lot of ways for this film besides just our time. Boyks in particular has spent a lot of time setting up some VHS tapes and getting all the gear to like rip that onto your computer and everything like that.
Plus hosting fees and no, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah, sounds good.
Maybe next time I'll pick a movie that's dogs. Just dogs.
But they're dogs. Just dogs.
Chirping video playing the whole time. Right? Like, that has to be something we talk about. It's important.
What? I don't... Man, I can't believe
we need to tell everybody
I can't believe
how absolutely dumb we are.
I can't believe you picked the wrong movie. That has nothing to do with me, though. I didn't do anything. What are you talking about?